Streaming. Ooh. Ooh. Ta-da-da. I like the light in my face. Let me get the light. Okay, we are live. Mikhail, welcome. Yeah, we're live. Hello. Hello everyone. This is Tell It Like It's Art. It is 8 p.m. on this Monday for me, but I am in Italy. Mikhail, where are you?
I'm here in Lubbock, Texas.
Here in Lubbock, Texas. What time is it?
Yeah, it's actually about sometime after 2 p.m.
Sometimes after 2 p.m. And did you have lunch yet?
I had.
Very good. So we're here with Mikhail Johnson, my friend and colleague. So Mikhail and I know each other from our studies in Lubbock, Texas. We studied with the same professor, Dr. William Westney, that we say hi if he's listening. And so I thought it would be fun to talk to Mikhail because not only is he a pianist, like myself, but he also writes music. And that's something I've never really done. And so congratulations.
Thank you.
How did, tell us how that started. Were you a pianist first or did you write music first?
I was a pianist first. A lot of the ideas regarding composition occurred much later, more so when I was in my later years of high school, when I was in, dealing with band and so on. I was very much playing other instruments. So I was a multi-instrumentalist during that time.
Okay. And where did you go to high school? Sorry, just so that I can locate this geographically.
Okay, so high school is back in Jamaica at the Herbert Morrison Technical High School. And that's in Montego Bay. So that's basically what they would call the tourist capital. That's basically Northwest. And so it was a really amazing school for their music program because they had a really rigorous band program. And I've always wanted to go there because of the music, and my mom was very supportive of that fact.
That's good.
And I played saxophone and flute there.
Ooh, I did not know that about you.
In addition to being able to play the recorder as equally professionally as my piano skills, because I did enter competitions and with orchestras and so on during that time.
Amazing.
So it was a very interesting time. But during that aspect, in my final years, I had to take an exam. And those exams are similar to what you'd call the SATs in the United States, but they call them the CXCs in the Caribbean. And they had a music version of that. And one of the requirements is that I had to write 3 contrasting pieces. So in addition to learning repertoire and performing that, I had to engage in composition as well. So that was my first formal jab in the realm of writing music. And during that time, in retrospect, I definitely was a copycat. I sounded a lot like Mozart and Beethoven.
That's fair.
During that time. Might as well you just say I was just basically copy and paste based on how everything sounded. And for reason of strength, I tried to add some jazz in there, whatever the case may be. But that was really my gateway.
I see.
Into composition.
But you were talking about your training back in Jamaica, and it sounds very rigorous. A lot of music. I like that you had multiple instruments. I'm just thinking, here now in Italy, I didn't go to a music high school, but I went to the conservatory as well as going to, regular high school. So, but now, because there was no music high school and now there is, and they're trying, but from what I can tell you, it's not really working in the sense that it doesn't really prepare you to go on to college, say, if you want to go abroad or, stay in Italy and go to the conservatory. So yeah, for reasons that we don't need to discuss, but it did prepare you. So you were studying
but it was very different. I mean, I wouldn't say prepared college beyond per se, because a lot of the instruction that took place was more of uh, the more advanced students teaching the younger, which of
Huh.
course was a really, really amazing setup in the sense that, you had like beginning band, intermediate band, and advanced band. And it was almost like the teachers kind of facilitated this idea of those who have elevated to a higher rank are now responsible for teaching the younger ones coming in.
I
So
see.
it's like those who are beginners get taught by the intermediate, while the intermediates are getting mentored by the advanced. And so that cycle kind of comes on where, there's this idea of not only community, but also this idea of, get into your training skills, your teaching skills, as it were, tap
Yeah.
into that. So we never really had, uh, I would say, rigorous in that sense that, we had a lot of competitions to enter and so on. And of course, we had to meet those quotas, but I wouldn't say rigorous in the sense that it's conservatory based, where you would actually
Mm.
have professional staff for each instrument on
I
board.
see.
It
I
wouldn't
see.
be that case.
Hmm.
So it would be for someone who's really interested in music, and they would definitely prepare you as best as possible for any other studies that you could possibly have. But you would definitely have to go outside of that to specialized personnel to really get that intense training if we're talking about collegiate level.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in terms of, just getting the basics and being able to, perform and kind of get your chops up to some other performance level, I would say it was very good for what it really provided.
Yeah, and you it sounds like you also played a lot of music with other people, which is also important, I think, in that formative always, but in that formative age, that's something that some schools don't provide. So that's cool. Yeah, and so to further your education, then you went to the U.S. Am I correct?
Not quite
Not
yet,
quite.
because
Okay,
before that,
tell
because
me.
before that, not before long, I ended up in Northern Caribbean University, where I actually studied biological science. Now that was where I moved from the Northwest to basically South Central.
I
Um,
see.
I basically,
I
it
did not
was.
know that either.
So during that time, I was like, what was I gonna do? And I must say that a lot of this really stemmed from the fact that I was really getting a little bit frustrated at the fact that as much as I got all this training in high school and I really wanted to move forward in pursuing music, I
Hmm.
just felt like I was not going to make it, in the sense that I was getting older. There were a lot of my colleagues who much earlier than I did got scholarships to go study abroad.
I see.
They just got swept up and just swept up, and they were gone, and then they were studying and doing their own thing. And I was kind of like here in limbo a little bit, because I know that I wasn't able to study unless I had funding or some scholarship.
Of
But
course.
a lot of those that were available, either the deadlines had already passed,
Ah.
and if those deadlines had passed, then that means at the age I would not have been able to apply again. So
Ah.
that was really the issue that kind of prevented me
Ah.
from really pursuing a lot of the opportunities afforded me, because not only did I not have formal training, but on top of that, a lot of the scholarships that were available, I was above that age. And I was started getting frustrated. I was like, why do I have to be this young in order to pursue music?
Yeah.
You know, and it put a lot of people who were starting to really develop that passion for music and drive, who really were serious about it, they ended up falling by the wayside, because a lot of these opportunities never happened. But anyway, needless to say, I ended up studying biological science because science was something that I always loved as well. And I
Wow.
was going into the field of forensics. I was preparing to go into the field of forensics. And during that time, I loved the school because their music, especially when it came onto their commencement services, were immaculate. And I was like, if nothing else, at least I need to put my foot right into the music department's door just for the sake that, I was in there. And so
So
as it turns out,
so at that time, were you playing, but like just for yourself? You weren't taking lessons, or well,
yes.
I see. So
So during
yeah.
all of that time, it was just all on my own volition. So by the time I did get to really start, studying in college, when I got accepted, miraculously there was a teacher who had just entered faculty there by the name of Kimberly Can, and she was fresh out of Eastman, came to Jamaica, and in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute, someone from Eastman is coming here to Jamaica to teach at this institution. I was like, I want to know what this is about. And so I ended up, because I wanted to be a part of the music department while I was doing science. I'll see if I could do both. But
Right.
I think it was through that, when I auditioned, she was there for the audition and she decided to take me up as her student, like without hesitation, and said, hey, I would definitely love to be, your tutor. And she was the pivotal person that transformed my life in terms
Wow.
of having me pursue music full time. I did finish my degree in science, however, it took me 4 years. But
Wow.
by the time, but yeah, I know, I know, because I knew it was kind of complicated, especially with that institution, because a lot of things were not in place regarding, when it comes down to like the idea of courses and so on. So at that time, things were just not necessarily in place where I felt comfortable to just transition full time to make that my whole major. But for what it's worth, I gathered a lot of information while I was there as a minor. And I think that prepared me, especially under her instruction. And then she was only there for one semester, but I guess that one semester was really that.
Ah.
So yeah, it was. You see how the universe works. It's so interesting. And after that, I had some fabulous teachers. Dr. Anderson, Dr. Valencia. It was really amazing to have that kind of community just rally around me and push me in various directions. And then Dr. Walker was a violinist who heard me play, had me enter a competition, and I ended up, soloing with the Jamaica Symphony Orchestra shortly thereafter. And that was an orchestra that she had just recently formed. Trying to get this program going
What did you
under.
play?
I played Mendelssohn's Rondo Capriccioso.
Huh.
Um, it not a huge piece, but I mean, it was very
It's still
virtuosic
cool. Yeah, I
enough.
know.
Really amazing work. I was a huge fan of it at the time, and I do hope people get a chance to play that again. But it was a really really fantastic opportunity for me. But during all that time, things were still kind of up in the air, half and half. Will I make it? Will I not? Because I still, after that, I was just like, I don't know what's next. I just really didn't see it happening as something that's, even though I could see it in my mind, I just did not see it happening in reality. Like I couldn't find the path that would make it unfold in a way that's reality for me. So I was okay with the idea that if I do graduate and I not end up having music as a career, it was just going to be a side job and that would be it.
Huh.
Um,
And how old were you at the time?
at that time, by the time I graduated, I was around 22, 20, yeah, 22.
Well, that's still pretty young in my world.
Super young, but again, no, no, notice that like in your country, you would be able to have, like, down the street, there's this one competition, the next city over there will be in this next competition. And for me, everything was abroad. So it's like, it's very different where, I don't have the necessary training, or, very intense where it's just like you feel comfortable putting yourself out there for this kind of high level competition. And then at the same time, you're like, but then even if I did prepare, all of these competitions are overseas. So that's gonna be like expenditures that I can't even afford. So it was just so many different factors, but you just kind of had to be like, um, just make do with the resources that you had. And I did enter a lot of the national competitions here. There's the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, which deals with all aspects, different categories from classical to pop to traditional folk music and dances and so on. And that was an amazing competition. I really enjoyed as much as possible entering that every year. But of course, that only takes you so far because it's just a matter of getting medals, not necessarily anything that has career development attached to it or that kind of thing. And for me, it was good for while it lasted, but then after that, it kind of fell by the wayside in terms of like I needed something that would really elevate my artistry.
Yeah. So what did you do?
So I ended up teaching for 2 years after college at a high school, developed their music program,
Wow.
entered them into competitions, started reviving their what you call their SAT track of the curriculum in music, and have their first batch of students apply and take the exams. So it was a really, really
Wow.
amazing step. But during that time, I was very fortunate to have my professors back at Northern Caribbean University call me up and say, "Hey, we're going to this place on the west side. That's it's we call Westmoreland, which
Hmm.
is right next door to St. James, and like the next state over, as it were. And there's this place called Mount Tambrin, and it's this nice, basically retreat that's owned by this guy who's a music aficionado, and he built like his own concert hall there, and they
Love
have different
them.
stuff, and it's just this one place on the top of the hill. And he said, I need you to come along. We're doing a concert, and I think it'd be nice for you to actually see this. And I saw that place, and it was the most heavenly thing I've ever seen. I was like, this exists in Jamaica. Like I was really dumbstruck, and there were pianos in all the rooms. You could, and the guy was like, uh, greeting the artists as they were, which were my professors at the time, and they were planning a whole trio. So it was more like a clarinet trio, trio, piano, cello, and clarinet, and
Yep.
they did a very fabulous concert. And during dinner, the host, Dr. Girl K, asked me to play,
Oh.
and I'm like, oh no. Am I even prepared? But then again, I think all of that time, I guess it led up to this moment. So I went ahead and I played about three pieces,
What did you play?
and I played Rachmaninoff's C sharp minor prelude. Um,
Very good.
I played the Rondo Capriccioso, um, the solo work. I think the concerto is Capriccioso Brilliante. Yeah, right. So
Yeah, you
Rondo
probably.
Capriccioso. And then I did another piece. I think it was a Bach piece. Um, and he absolutely loved what I heard, and he said, "Listen, you're invited to be a part of this anytime. If you want to come and stay here, um, you're welcome to." And I took up that opportunity because I knew that uh, that was a very good opportunity to just have an instrument. Because even during that time, I never had an instrument to practice on. I owned a keyboard, which was like 61 keys. And of course, the repertoire I played is like 88. So it's like, you know,
Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah.
you play the higher the octave down. There's so many things that I could tell you. It's really a journey, to say the least. But that was a very amazing opportunity, and I did two concerts during their concert season that involved me playing recorder and also piano, and that also gave me an opportunity to hone my composition skills as well, because I failed to mention that it was during my studies at NCU that the director of choral studies, Dr. Andrew Marshall, he was the pivotal person who really launched my composition career in the next direction. Because not only was I able to be like, okay, I can do this music thing full time, but he also took me under his wing and got me into composition in a really like intense way, because I got to study his scores and I got to learn about what it's like, to do this whole voice leading. And I took courses with him, and that really pushed me into the idea of where I was, now pumping out huge choral collections, because choir was easily accessible back in Jamaica compared to instrumental works. So that really pushed me now in pursuing composition as an additional aspect of my musicianship. So when I got to Mount Tambrin, I was able to add that to the list of things. So recorder, piano, composition. So that was happening for 2 years. So during that time, there were artists from all over the world coming in. So he, this host, Dr. Grilke, he had resources to be bringing in people from all over the world. And
I don't hear you.
they would normally go to Kingston for their main concert, but they would come to this Mount Tambrin to do like rehearsals, or to, get to, visit the island that we were. So it was a great opportunity that I'm sitting here in the midst of all of this, and people are just coming in and out and hearing me play and, saying, hey, you're really great. And then this one particular person by the name of William Chapman Nyahu. He lives in Seattle, but he's originally from Ghana, and he came to visit to do a performance, and he heard me play, and he's like, I really enjoy your musicianship, and I know someone who would be great for you at this point in your career. His name is Dr. Satterley from Bowling Green State University. Dear colleague of mine, I will set the channels up. And the rest was history. I did my audition, and they got me a scholarship, and there I was.
That's amazing. That's one of those stories. I really like hearing people's success stories, but also just like people's life stories, because I remember something you actually posted on Facebook once, that you said how it takes a village to raise somebody, and I really related to that, because there are so many people in my life, personal and professional, because of course we, with what we do, they are so interconnected, and we hang out with musicians then mostly also, and I've had very generous people that believed in me, and so I'm very happy for you that all of that worked out. And of course, you have to put in the work, and that we just have to do.
And that's the point, because when I was at that high school, during that time, I started feeling a little frustration that I just did not have the resources to get to the next level. And I felt, because I had that in my mind, I wanted to get to the next level so bad. And I had to make the difficult decision. Do I leave this job that's giving me money, or for the sake of, just being able to just study or, practice to the point where I feel like I'm able to take on any opportunity that comes my way to, audition or do something. And that, as difficult as that was, I'm glad I decided that, I think the time had come to make that change, and it just turned out to be for the best. But again, it had to find you working, right? And it's funny how I met Nyahu in Jamaica, who was pivotal in bringing me here just a month ago. I recently met this guy who happened to hear my recital that I did in December. And he said, you're such an amazing person, blah, 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 because we got to know each other. And he said, there's someone I think you should meet. His name, he's a huge, inspiration of mine, and his name is Dr. Nyahu.
That's funny. Huh.
And I said, oh, you do not know the half of my story.
Yeah, that's right.
But just goes to show the idea of the interconnected, world that we live in. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So right now, let's talk about, fast forward all these years, you're almost a doctor.
Almost a doctor.
Yeah, so almost, congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I know. It's a lot of work, and you've been, in school, and of course, doctorate is not just school, but you've been in school now for this past year. That was so different, right? And when we were last talking, you were telling me about. I sympathize a lot with all of my friends that have to go to classes and practice and all of that. It's very tough, and so keep it up. That's all I wanted to say. uh,
Thank
yeah,
you.
because I feel very fortunate to be able to play at where I work, to practice where I work, and I have my space, and it's the first time that I have that in my life, the space that it's almost only for me, and it
Yeah,
makes such a difference. So you're almost there.
almost there.
Yeah,
Almost
but
there.
I wanted to ask you. So I've also seen on the socials that you get commissioned, and that's very exciting.
That is, it's beyond me at this point. It's like the more you start to look at your journey of where you once started and you thought, this looks like it's not going to happen, and to be standing in it right now, it is it's an outer body experience, to be quite honest. To be receiving commissions, yes, it's very much a blessing to have people who believe in my work and what I do and what I bring to the table, and are willing to allow me to maximize on that, and I'm very much of a stickler when it comes on to writing music that not only am I proud of, but where possible, I'm able to perpetuate and celebrate my cultural heritage, which is everything Jamaican. So it's a really huge opportunity when I get a chance to be commissioned to write something for an organization, and I'm like, hey, you're free to write whatever, and I just take the chance to do it.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. When was the last time you've heard? Because of course we live in difficult times. When was the last time you heard one of your pieces? And I always wondered how nerve wracking it must be to write a piece and to hear it perform live. But of course, exciting and all of that. But yeah, I guess you learn.
I'm very fortunate. This Saturday is going to be the fifth performance of my piano piece that was commissioned to me last year by Bowling Green State University. This is be performed by Verdant Vibes with a fabulous pianist, Alexandra, and and that will be this Saturday, and it will be live it will be on YouTube, and I'll be talking, having a performance talk on
Ooh,
the piece and this idea of how it came about. It's called
cool.
What You Hiding.
I've heard it.
Prior
I've heard it.
and prior to that, it was performed by the North South Continent's artist director, Max Lifshitz, who performed it at the National Opera Center in New York. And then before that, I performed that, and then it was a world premiere before that. So it was really nice. And then we had a residency here at Texas Tech, and it was performed there as well. So I've been getting a chance to hear my pieces.
Played by
Um,
different people, and that must also be very interesting,
yeah,
right? Because everybody brings something, so that's cool.
yeah. So it's really nice to hear it kind of take a life of its own after that one commission, because I mean that commission was just in my peak of inspiration and real joy of getting ideas out, and then the pandemic hit and everything was just like shut down, and it just got really really bad after that in terms of being able to write other pieces, because I had other commissions still to do, but the isolation really took a toll. But thankfully a lot of those are almost complete, and they'll be performances in the fall. So
Very cool. How do we find out about them? Do a little.
you'll find out about all of those through my social medias, Instagram, Facebook at Jamaican Pianist.
Very good. Okay, so Mikhail, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you
Uh,
so
and let me first invite everybody that's listening to our next episode. Mikhail, will you listen? Next week, we are talking to a dancer and choreographer from Singapore, Ru Ma, and who is working in Singapore at the moment. Boston Conservatory graduate. Very excited about talking to her next week. Mikhail, thank you again. And
much for having me.
yeah, thank you everybody who's listening, and we'll see you next week. Okay.